Omaha Mom Talks, proudly sponsored by Day Ventures Swim School, where giggles and goggles unite. Hey friends, welcome back to Omaha Mom Talks. I'm your host, Jessie. Today's episode is one that I know so many of you have been waiting for. We are talking about sex, intimacy, and how the heck to keep the spark alive when we're exhausted, touched out, and knee-deep in laundry. I'm sitting down today with Juline Mosser. She is a local mama and therapist in Omaha. She has a PhD in clinical sexology. She is the founder of a group therapy practice, the Omaha Wellness Collective, and co-founder of the Sexual Health Hub. Her work focus is on supporting women through hormonal shifts, reproductive life stages, and the dynamics of intimacy. We're getting into the real talk, like why it's so awkward to bring up sex with your partner, what to do when you're always the one initiating, and how to feel sexy again when your body feels more like a snack cabinet than your own. Whether you're currently in the thick of postpartum life or just feeling those roommate vibes, this episode is full of validation and gentle guidance. Let's get into it. Hey, Juline, welcome to Omaha Mom Talks. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's just share a little bit with our listeners, a little bit about you, family, work, and all the things that you're up to.
Fabulous. So I am a private practice therapist. I'm a licensed mental health practitioner. I own Omaha Wellness Collective. We have 12 absolutely fabulous practitioners that we get to work with every day, specializing in perinatal mental health and sexual health and women's health and kind of the whole spectrum of taking care of people. I have 2 kiddos, 4 and 6.
So fun.
Yes, we're living that 4 and 6-year-old life right now in May-cember, which this is my first May-cember. I've never experienced it before.
Is your oldest in kindergarten?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
My oldest is in first grade, and it's just all of the things this month. If you're not familiar, it's field day, spirit day, teacher appreciation. I mean, all important things.
Very.
But it's lots to remember along with extracurricular.
And it's like, today we're going to dress up as your favorite superhero who only wears purple, and we don't have any purple shirts. Yay. So like a last minute Target run. And
we'll have like, bring $1 to school and you can wear a hat. And I'm like, I never have $1. Yeah. Like I'm just that person. I never have cash.
Nope. We have dollar and gum day. And then I'm like, oh, I don't even have any gum in our house. Like, quick run to the grocery store. Yep.
So super busy with mom life and your practice. And at your practice, so I know you guys just moved and I've gotten to see it and it's beautiful. Tell us a little bit about where you guys are at in your new setup.
Yeah, we're so excited. It's so beautiful. So we moved to like 156th and Maple. We just expanded and built out 9 offices and we're already filling them up, which is so cool.
Yeah.
I actually started Omaha Wellness kind of as myself, like as a private practice therapist. And then
That's when I met you. You were solo.
It was it was just me. And then I kept finding just like all of these wonderful, incredible women who wanted to learn about business, which I'm super passionate about. Okay. So all of the clinicians who work with me own their own business as well.
Okay.
And so it's just been really fun to get to like watch these amazing clinicians like grow into their own business owners as they're also helping the patients that they love and the population they love to serve. So
that's awesome.
Really cool.
That is really cool. I love your new space. It's beautiful. So we serve on a perinatal consultation team together, and we've been hosting it at your new space. And so every time I'm there, I'm like, I want to be here. Like I won't move where I'm at because I'm in a good deal, but every time I'm there and it's so beautiful and the decor, and I mean, you had me at the hot pink sign on the door.
Girlfriend, like, but you gotta shout out to the one and only Rachel Brayback who decorated my entire office. Like
she to do my house. So cute.
She just is like sitting in our waiting room and is like, I just need to be with this space to see what this space needs. And then I walk in the next day and it's like perfection. And I was like, yep.
I love it. I love it. It's so beautiful. Okay.
Thank you.
So you had also shared with me that you are also the co-founder of the Sexual Health Hub. So tell me more about that.
Yes. So my best friend and I both finished our PhDs in clinical sexology this last year in 2023 and 2024. And we had both just seen like recurring issues in women's sexual health that are just not being talked about.
Yeah.
And so our goal, and I was just kind of chatting with Grace before I got here about our goal is kind of to just give information to women about sexual health and wellness and connection and all of the things that our generation was not taught
Absolutely.
at all.
Yeah.
And so her specialization is a little bit more in like the sexual education curriculum, where mine is a little bit more in intimacy and passion and desire and those things. I got my start in infertility and how that can have an impact on connection with a partner.
Yeah.
And then kind of going into postpartum, which I know you specialize in, and kind of the loss of so much connection with holy cow babies and all of those things that they're like, oh my gosh, just have a baby. And then 6 weeks at your postpartum checkup, like you're good for intercourse again. And it's like,
do not touch me.
Hold the phone, please. So our goal long-term is to kind of create courses and content for people to be exposed to women's sexual health.
Great. Yeah. And that's, a very similar conversation that I'm having with women all of the time, which is just a lack of information about our own reproductive health, sexual health. And it is wild. Even growing up myself, like my mom was pretty open and, talked with us about things, but I was very limited in what I knew, especially like once I started to want to get pregnant and things like that. So I love that you guys have a passion for giving more information and helping to empower women in that way. Tell me about what pulled you towards this specialty in sex therapy. Was there a defining moment or experience that really pulled you into that direction?
Yeah, for sure. So I started kind of working with the population with infertility and trying to conceive and things like that. And so seeing that population and just seeing the difficulty that they face and how disconnected they can be when intimacy becomes overscheduled or overcalculated or kind of overanalyzed by your doctor and the people trying to conceive and all of the things. I saw that loss. And then my husband and I actually experienced some infertility issues. And so when we were experiencing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a sex therapist. How in the world could I possibly not be connected with my husband? And so then when I went through it too, I was like, okay, hold the phone. We're seeing this everywhere. There, at the time when I first started my certification in sex therapy, there were 2 certified sex therapists in Omaha. Wow. I think we're up to like 6 or 7 now. So like making huge progress. Yes. But yeah, so that was a big deal because there was nowhere to go for these people who are just wanting to be connected after such a hard experience.
Absolutely. Okay. So I'm excited to jump into our conversation today. I think that for a lot of folks, men and women, talking about sex feels super taboo and it can be awkward. And I think especially awkward after kids. And you oftentimes are struggling with desire or feeling that disconnection or just not even sure like how to bring it up with your partner. So I'm really grateful to be having this conversation with you today. First, I just kind of want to know, what are some of the common issues that you see for couples that are facing struggles with sex and intimacy?
For sure. So before I even go into that, I want to first say we're going to have a conversation about this today, but anybody listening, this is the absolute tip of the iceberg. This is a very brief snapshot. I really want to normalize, even if it is not something that we talk about today, oh my gosh, the spectrum of things that people can be experiencing are normal and okay, and you deserve to be advocated for and to get support for these issues, regardless of if it's the topic we talk about today or not. I just wanted to say that first because I'm so important. There is no box of anything that anyone can fit into when it comes to sexual health.
Absolutely.
So to answer your question, what I see most commonly is a big discrepancy in desire. And the desire discrepancy is kind of getting a little bit older in its definition because we're starting to learn more and more about desire and what it means in terms of spontaneous desire and responsive desire. And I mean, everybody...
Do you feel like genders have a different, like, stereotype, for lack of a better word?
Oh my gosh, totally. Okay, come on, girls. Like we can see the stereotype of, I'm going to use a heterosexual couple as an example, but like the husband who just like looks across the room and he's like ready to go.
Yeah.
And the wife who's sitting there going, oh my gosh, the laundry and the kids pick up and the blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, how in the world
I'm not in the mood.
No, absolutely not. And so one of the things that a lot of research is starting to come out with is like how to normalize that it's okay that one partner has a spontaneous desire.
Yes.
But it isn't to shame that something is wrong with the responsive desire partner. I will proudly wear my responsive desire partner hat all day long. And that doesn't mean anything is wrong with us or we don't love our partner more or we're not attracted to them. It's just like, hey, I really enjoy this when we get there, but like, help me get my mind off the laundry list. Like I will respond to you, but I'm not sitting in the kitchen thinking about taking you to the bedroom anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Totally
Absolutely.
Any other common, I guess, or frequent flyer issues that at least is getting folks to reach out and take that step for counseling?
Yeah, I think another one that I'm having a ton of wonderful, 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 vulnerable people coming out with is like, how do we start to have these conversations when our wants are different or our needs are different? Yeah. And I always kind of refer with my patients to like the spectrum or the season of life.
Yeah.
Like I have chosen to be in a long-term monogamous relationship and like, oh my God, we've had so many seasons, so many seasons. And so really being curious and excited about learning what version of your partner and what season you're in. And so I think I have a lot of people who are thinking like, well, when we first met, it was like this. Yeah. Like, why isn't it like this anymore? And it's like, because you're not those people anymore.
Right.
Those people are gone. You got to meet these people.
Yes. So speaking of seasons, as a maternal mental health therapist, I hear a lot from my patients, things like we're in the roommate phase or we're just like two ships passing in the night right now. And so we talk a lot about there being so much love for one another, but there's a big disconnect. Is that something that you see a lot in your practice? And then what are some tips that you use to encourage couples to move through that phase?
Yeah, for sure. And that was literally the topic of my dissertation for my PhD was literally reclaiming sexuality postpartum. Like that was my entire focus for that exact reason, because I don't necessarily have a lot of people reaching out for sex therapy specifically that don't like their partners. Most of the people who are reaching out to me are like, we love each other. We just had this child. We're so happy, but like we can't get there. What's happening? And so it is really teaching them to rediscover, and I use the word curious so often, rediscover each other in the version of parents and rediscover that sex and intimacy is going to look very, very different postpartum than it did during pregnancy, before pregnancy, any of those things, and really, really challenging. And we can talk more about this later, but like even challenging some of the norms that you've created about what sex means. I mean, I'm assuming we grew up around the same time. Like sex doesn't mean just penetration.
Right.
Like sex can have so many really wonderful meanings, but I think so many of us have this story of like, well, if we're not having sex once a week, then like we're a bad couple.
Yeah. There is so much emphasis I see placed on how frequent and like
that is
comparing.
That's a constant question in the first, like, are we doing it enough? Like, I'm not sure what is enough for you.
Right.
I don't have the magic answer to that.
Yeah. And it is so funny how people have such like varying opinions. Like, you know, I might hear someone say like, we're once a week. And to me, I'm like, that's a lot. Right? Like we're not there right now. And I'm good with where we're at. And then other people are like, we're multiple times a day. And I'm like, how? Like I don't even have time to eat some days. And so I'm like, okay, good for you. And so it's like, there really is no comparison because everybody's threshold, life circumstances are so vastly different.
And you just said like the magic term when I'm working with couples is I'm really attempting to break that comparison. I mean, I'm talking like societal comparison, childhood narrative about what sex means or what examples you saw in your parents. Like there really is no comparison. And the sooner we can break, I love the way you just said it. Like, and I'm totally okay with that. We're not once a week. Like as soon as you can break the comparison and really meet your partner and go, hey, this is what feels right for us. This is what our current season or threshold or where we feel connected, and remove. I have couples all the time that only have sex on vacation and they're like living their best lives and so happy about it. And then, like you said, I have couples who have sex multiple times a day, and I have couples who never have penetrative sex and they're so madly in love. So honoring like, there is no normal. There is no right or wrong. It's whatever you and your partner decide is best for you.
And I love the idea of this season of life because it can feel very black and white, like this is where we're at and this is where we're going to be forever. But our life circumstances are always changing, and it's important to know like it's not going to be this way. If you're feeling unsettled or unhappy with where you guys are at, there's room for change.
Oh my gosh, so much room for change. And also the seasons give permission to say most couples, because of oxytocin and chemicals, were like, but when we first met, it was so natural and easy and fun. And I'm like, yeah, did you have kids or cared for parents or had a mortgage or had any of these things when you were, spontaneously wanting to go have sex in the bathroom? Like, no, you did not.
You were a different person.
Well, and so some couples really have to do some grief work around grieving those people. And that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some of the changes that happen in our sexual relationship after kids, because we know that we still a lot of us generally love our partner, and that physical connection can just feel different in that season of life. So what are some of the common shifts that we see after couples have kids?
For sure. So absolutely, first and foremost, go back and listen to the episode with Rachel where you guys talk about like the perinatal mental health things that can happen. Yeah. Those with our brains, with our bodies, absolutely are huge experiences that both female, male partners, birth havers, whomever can experience. And then we're talking the physical changes, like I didn't know the body that birthed a child. Like I was like, what is this? Like what has happened here? Yeah. So it's really relearning that body. It's relearning I haven't slept in weeks. It is like my husband and I really also struggled with our first child of, oh my gosh, like we had so much time available to us. We had children later in life. Yeah. And so like we were best friends who did everything together. And then it's like, oh, I have to like go work out by myself now because we don't have somebody to care for the child.
Right, you're tag teaming.
So we've lost these other just natural connections. So those are some of the experiences that like you don't even think you're going to miss because you have this baby and it's so wonderful, but it's like, oh, I can't even, we would dance in the grocery store together and then it's like, I'm not taking that baby into the grocery store. It's just going to scream there. So it's like, now you're doing that alone. And that is so much connection. I know Esther Perel always says like, I know, oh my gosh,
Adopt
shout out.
me.
Yeah, I know, right? Can you just hold me? Yes. But she always says like intimacy and connection literally start and foreplay starts after the last orgasm. Like she says that. She's like, okay, so you have sex and it's great and it's wonderful. Okay, great. I don't care if you don't have sex again or if you don't have connection again for a year. The foreplay, the intimacy starts the second that one is over. So I don't care if you had it 20 years ago. It should have been building that whole time. And so many of us are just like, huh?
Yeah.
Like what partner? Like I'm just trying to get through the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially during newborn, you know, we never know also like what kind of temperament baby's going to have, if there's any feeding issues. A lot of people are room sharing. I mean, there's just a lot of logistics that make intimacy really hard during that stage. And one of the things that a lot of you kind of touched on, but I hear a lot in my practice is our change in our bodies. And we don't always feel, or women are sharing, we don't always feel like, I don't feel as sexy or confident. How do you guide moms into feeling sexy again? Or, you know, feeling, and if they are like nursing, like, you know, making them feel like my body belongs to me. More than other people that they're dating.
Oh my gosh, yes. The touched out version of mom, like my goodness. And that kind of twofold goes to what we talked about, like the seasons. Like there may be a season of your life where you communicate with your partner, like, hey, my breasts don't feel sexy. Like these currently feel as if you are choosing to breastfeed, like these currently feel like they're for a purpose. They don't feel sexy. They don't make me feel sexy. Can we explore another part of my body that might make me feel sexy? Or can we focus on something else other than that? That's that season of exploration and curiosity that we don't necessarily aren't taught to do. We aren't taught to be curious. It's like, unless that's going in that, like that's not the right thing. It's like, why? Why can't we experience that? So I always challenge with my female birthing mamas specifically to say like, what do you want to learn about yourself in this season? Because sexy is for you. Sexy is not for him. Sexy is not for her. If you have a female partner, sexy is for you. So what can you really focus in on, like finding about yourself in that time? And we really explore a lot of those things.
Yeah, I think that's so important. If like sexy is for you, like if I feel sexy, it's for me. It's not, because we might have different ideas of, I mean, I definitely know we have different ideas of what's sexy and what's not. So I like that you put words to that, because that makes sense to me for sure. So with even just, I'm thinking like past, you know, the 1 year kind of postpartum stage, and maybe you have multiples and, you know, you're in the thick of parenthood. We know that there is such a large mental load, and I'm just curious about like mental load, resentment, and like libido or desire for sex.
Yes. And I hear that one. Thank you for bringing that one, because that one is probably another one of the most common things that I have people coming and sharing too, is just that I don't understand, or I feel like I'm caring for a third child, or I feel like I can't possibly think about having sex or being intimate because this person won't help me with this thing or that, or whatever the concept is. And I always try to ask a little bit deeper, like, but what's underneath that for you? And I sometimes have couples where they will say, well, they won't put away the dishes, or they won't help with the laundry, or they won't do that thing. And they focus on the laundry or the dishes. And I'm asking them questions of like, yes, but you're not being seen. You're not being respected or valued by your partner. It's never about the sock on the floor.
Yeah.
It's never the sock on the floor. It is really for you to communicate and say, oh my gosh, I value you so much. And I didn't realize that when I wasn't doing the dishes, or when I told you I'd take the trash out and I didn't, it wasn't about the trash. It was about building trust, feeling connection.
Supported. Yeah.
And so if I can help couples kind of step into, it's really so much deeper than the trash or the list, then I find that they can really start connecting when they speak about like, yes, but I don't feel seen by you when you tell me you're going to do the dishes and you don't.
Right. And then that is hard for me to maybe get there later, because I'm still tossing with these ideas and feelings internally.
Yeah. And I have a lot of patients who are, regardless of gender, who is kind of the primary parent in terms of the list maker. Most couples have one.
Right.
Most couples have a list maker.
Even same-sex couples.
Yes, 100%. Someone is the primary parent. That's their skill set. And so the role I usually try to help my secondary, and again, not in a hierarchy, but in you're not the list keeper. So your job is to play. Your job is to call them out and say, hey, I miss you. Hey, can I help you put the list down? Can I help you be connected? Because the secondary parent is not going to create the list. Again, that's not a hierarchy. It's just, you're really good at lists and I'm not.
I think of it as a skill set.
Yeah, I'm never going to create the list. I'm not going to do it right. It's not the thing. So it's your job to say, hey, let's connect. Hey, let's play. Hey, let's do this thing together. That usually the primary parent doesn't have space for that.
Can't get to.
And that's where the resentment builds, is it's like, and you want me to plan a date night? Are you kidding me? Like, so that's where some of the resentment comes from. That usually is something I advocate for the secondary parent to start saying, okay, take the role on, and magically the dishes don't matter so much when secondary parent is planning a date night or playing with them or whatever it is to take some of that list away.
Yeah. So, okay, I don't know if this is like in your world too, or if it's, I don't know, but I am seeing so much online about like spicy books and these books are like drawing in, and I've read some. There's like a whole, I feel like once you read one, then there's like 12 more in that series. So I'm not there, but everyone I know is talking about all these different book series. So like, what do you think is resonating so much with women as it relates to these like spicy books?
Yes. So we love erotic. We love eroticism. However, a lot of women, not all, a lot of women don't feel turned on by watching porn. Not all. Some women, hell yeah, girl. But this eroticism that takes place in this almost like fantasy in my head, I'm reading it, I'm creating my own story. This is where fantasy for most women lives. And I think for so long, people would be like, well, why doesn't she have fantasies like me? Why doesn't she want to dress up as the naughty nurse and I can be the blah, blah? And it's like, that's not how her fantasy works. And finally, people are starting to see how women's fantasy works. And clearly, I mean, I remember when 50 Shades of Grey came out, and it was like every single, and again, is 50 Shades of Grey really the best example of kink? No, it's not. But I remember seeing like 72-year-old grandma at the pool, like getting a,
you
girl,
did see
like,
that book everywhere, like on vacation.
And
I was like, okay.
Yeah, I see you. So it's finally coming where women are getting the freedom to experience their fantasies. It's just so much different than porn or the naughty nurse costume or whatever it is that was originally taught to us from TV and movies and all the things. Like, this is it. I love erotic fiction for so many patients.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that people are exploring that as well. Okay, so let's get into just some of the practical stuff, because people want to know, right? You want to feel close to your partner, but it feels overwhelming. For those that are wanting to reconnect with their partner, but like don't really know where to start, what might be a good first step?
Yes, for sure. So I tell everyone, Esther Perel, the one and only, created a card deck.
Oh yeah.
And the card deck has a bunch of really cool questions on them. They're color coded, so there's like, you can take out the sex questions if you don't want to, but they have really wonderful questions to just start. I really love when I have couples that are both willing to do the work, both excited. I love doing like a bibliotherapy, like, hey, both of you read or listen to this book, talk about what it is. Emily Nagoski writes to her new one, Come Together.
Okay.
Outstanding. There is a website.
Because her first book was Come As You Are.
Yes, Come As You Are. That is her first one. If that's not in your repertoire yet, please. She teaches, like, in my opinion, like the most integral communication strategy for couples, which is communicating around your accelerator and your brakes.
Okay.
Like, what are my brakes? What slows me down? What speeds me up? And like in a completely neutral, like.
Right. Not like you're doing it wrong or I don't like that from you. It's just like, for me, this is what my body speeds up to.
Yes. And she talks about that in that Come As You Are. And then Come Together is her new book that she writes, which is absolutely outstanding. Obviously, if there's anything that you want secondary support, the ASECT website has certified sex therapists, so you can reach out to them. There's a website called OMGYes, which is hands down probably one of my favorite websites ever.
Tell us why.
It has, I mean, it's amazing. It is actually interactive, real female body parts. And it, one, teaches partners who do not have female body parts how to touch them.
Okay.
It has techniques, it has suggestions, it's interactive on our phones or iPads or whatever. So it literally will give suggestions like,
wow,
hey, I'm a little sensitive right now. That does not feel good. Could you try this? But one thing that women of my generation really love about this website is I wasn't taught how to communicate with my partner about what feels good.
Right.
And so it's giving them language because they're hearing this bot say, hey, I don't like this, but could you try this thing? And they're like, oh, that's how I say that?
Yeah.
Because so many women feel as if they're like, I'm just supposed to just like whatever he can do.
Right.
Or she can do. And I don't.
Right. And it is very important to
Yes.
communicate what feels good to each person. Okay, so say the website again and we'll throw it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's OMG Yes.
Okay.
And it is absolutely fabulous. Many of my couples have used it. My husband was like, where was this when I was like 17 years old? I'm like, I know. You're telling me. And even for women who never, this is my other little asterisk that I will say, like women who have never had an opportunity to explore their own bodies. That wasn't taught in my youth. I didn't know anything about this. So how am I going to then get into a partnered relationship and expect myself to be able to communicate with him? So it helps women learn to explore themselves with different techniques and things like that were never, ever, ever taught to me as a young woman.
I love that. Good. Okay, so many of the moms that I hear from talk about this, like, I want to have more sex with my partner, but I'm really just too exhausted, right? So there's that tension there of like, I want more intimacy. I don't like being in the roommate stage because that's what I hear a lot, but I just don't have the energy for it. So what can we do to kind of eventually get out of that season?
Oh, I love that you even used it. Like, first and foremost, accept that it's a season.
Yeah.
We will not always be this exhausted.
Yeah.
And really allow yourself permission to focus on that responsive desire. I don't know if this is what you hear in your sessions, but in a lot of mine, I'll hear like, once we're into it, I realize and I remember that I like it.
Agreed, yes.
But it's kind of the hurdle of getting there.
I agree. Yeah, I hear
and
that a lot.
so this is kind of like, I use like kind of an outcome, not in terms of an orgasm, but like with my patients when we're talking about exercise or body movement or whatever, if the outcome you desire is a stronger body, you definitely don't want to move your body every day. But you do it, and then halfway through the walk or the workout or whatever, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did this. And if you have a really safe, supportive connection with your partner, sometimes it is accepting the responsive desire and saying, hey, spontaneous desire partner, help me get there. I'm not there right now, but help me get there because I know once I get there,
I enjoy it.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's the permission. I have a lot of spontaneous desire patients that will say, I feel like they don't like me because we have to do that. And it's like, no. They really like you. They just are in a season of life and it might be forever. I have signed my lease of I will be a responsive desire partner for the rest of my life. And my partner is totally cool with that. Like once I get there, I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
And I don't hear a lot of partners who are in healthy, safe partnerships that say, ugh, once I got there, it was miserable.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So when I know I've experienced this and I hear this from other women, so I'm guessing it's not, something that you haven't heard, but a lot of women tell me kind of similar to what you're saying is once we, have had sex, like I actually feel like I love my partner more. I feel like more connected to them. I know I feel like that. I'm like, oh my God, I love you so much. How was I mad at you yesterday? Like you're amazing. Tell us about what's going on, like the neurobiology and emotionally there.
Yeah, for sure. So all of those wonderful, lovely chemicals of connection, all that oxytocin, all that dopamine, all of that stuff is happening. And especially if there is an orgasm, orgasm is the chemical of connection.
Yeah.
Like if there is that is such a connecting piece with our partners, and to think like I could enter into this vulnerable state from however we get there. So when you say that, oh my gosh, so much, all of us. And I even hear that from my male partners.
Okay.
If they're in a heterosexual, they're like, I'm so much more connected. Where some of my female partners will say, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was going to be so much more connected. Where the men are like, I was trying to tell you the whole time. But yeah, 100% all those awesome chemicals that are created when we connect with somebody in that way. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about initiation. So what advice would you give to somebody who's feeling maybe a little bit burnt out from always being the one to initiate sex?
If they're feeling genuinely burnt out, I would love to explore what stories are involved in the burnout there and really reflect on, are we in a spontaneous versus a responsive desire couple? Or do they want to say, hey, I would love for you to show me that you're interested in me in other ways. Maybe you don't initiate sex, but I'm starting to feel like you don't find me attractive. And could you show me in this other way? It's usually not necessarily you need to stop initiating or this person needs to magically start initiating authentically. I have some couples that have a responsive desire partner that their initiation can just be, I'm going to set a reminder in my phone. And I know we're going to talk about that in a second, but like, I'm going to set a reminder to ask them to have sex. Like that's initiation. It doesn't have to be this like stare across the room and have all of this crazy stuff. It's, if that's not natural to you, can you be curious with your partner about what are you needing from me to make you feel attracted or feel seen? It might not be initiation of sex.
Well, and I think, I like that you're exploring the stories, right, that have been created to that. Because oftentimes what I'm hearing when I'm having those conversations with my patients, it's, I feel like he's not attracted to me, or I feel like he's not interested in me, and I'm always the one initiating, and so I'm not going to do it anymore. And that doesn't feel good, right, to be in that place. But if we know that their partner is not an initiator, then we're like at this standstill.
Yep. And also I have that and I've initiated 20 times and they've rejected me. Like I'm not putting my hand on a hot stove 20 times. I've learned my lessons. So then we end up being roommates because zero people like feeling rejected.
Yeah.
And so it is really understanding the story of when I initiate with them and they say no. What's underneath that? I have a lot of female initiators who their partners will say no, and they had no idea that he was experiencing maybe some erectile dysfunction or maybe some performance anxiety. And he was actually really insecure about his body or his things. And she had no idea because men aren't allowed to share those things. And so there's also that when I have female initiators who say, I feel rejected and I'm always the one initiating, like he actually might be feeling pretty insecure as well.
Yeah. It's so hard to know, right? And that's why that communication is so important with one another. Hey friends, this is Jessie. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to give a big thank you to our season 2 sponsor, Diventures Swim School. My kids started weekly swim lessons at Diventures back in February 2025, and honestly, I've been blown away by the growth that I've seen in just a few months. As a water-loving family, water safety is super important to us, and Diventures has given me such peace of mind as a parent. I'm going to share with you just a few of the things that I love the most about Diventures. They offer classes for all ages and stages, starting as young as 2 months all the way up to adults. They have small class sizes with just 4 kids max to 1 adult, so they really do get a lot of that one-on-one support. They have a heated pool, so no battles over getting into cold water. They have flexible class times, which allow for rescheduling when life gets busy or you're going to be out of town. And of course, expert instructors, all certified and truly just amazing with kids. If swim lessons has been on your list, this is your sign. Head on over to diventures.com and find a class that's right for your family. Okay, so you touched on scheduling sex. So I know that this idea of scheduling sex doesn't sound very sexy, but let's get your hot take on scheduling sex.
Love it. I love it.
You love it.
I know.
Okay.
I know. It is unpopular opinion for all of our romance readers, all of our Hallmark movie people.
Yeah.
It is such an unpopular opinion, but I am telling you, girl, if I didn't have my alarm set to get to the gym in the morning every day, it would not, every day, come on now, a few days a week, it would not happen. Like, if I don't, especially in this season of life, I think as my children age, as you get in the season where your children aren't around you so often, then there might be a little bit more room for spontaneity.
Right.
But when you have young children specifically, it is very much like if it's not on the calendar,
Yeah.
you'll look at your partner and be like, oh my God, it's been 3 months. Like, how did that even happen?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't on the calendar. I love it for couples. But I always try to challenge the definition of scheduled sex because I want scheduled intimacy. If it leads to whatever your version of sex is, if it's penetration or whatever that is, great. But if you have something on the calendar to just say, hey, we're going to lay together with our clothes off, or hey, we're going to take a shower together, or we're going to do these things without the pressure of it actually having to lead to intercourse. A lot of times it does, but I want them to schedule intimacy often. Whatever their version of often is. And intimacy doesn't have to be, it can be, hey, we're going to hold hands in the car on the way to the soccer game or whatever that looks like. So yes, I am a huge advocate for scheduled sex, quote unquote.
Perfect. Well, I think that, especially if folks have had, like you were talking about earlier, any fertility issues, the scheduling of the sex can be kind of this like trauma reminder. And then it doesn't feel like what we see in the movies and what we see as far as like passionate lovemaking. But when you have young children, like logistically, it can be hard. Like some nights I'm sleeping in between a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. And it's not planned. It's like I went to put them to bed and I fell asleep.
Yep.
And it's super cozy in there. And so it's like, logistically, when you have young kids, it's just hard. They're always there.
Yes, well, and we think about it and it has a negative connotation, especially, and thank you for that caveat. Infertility couples, I would probably approach it slightly differently because they have that trauma. But we think about when we first started dating our partner. Oh my gosh, I took 2 hours to get ready for a date. Think about the amount of time and the amount of energy that I call for couples, like foreplay. Like, I would plan excitedly for like 3 days.
Yeah, I was definitely shaving, self-tanning, spritzing.
Seriously, but
I don't have time for that now.
Right, and none of us have time for that. But it's like, why is scheduling it with our live-in partners any different than dating? It gives us, and as long as you don't negatively connotate the scheduling, like you can play all day long. You can text, you can flirt, you can do the things, looking forward to the thing. Can we try this tonight? Can we blah, blah, blah? Like you can have that foreplay if it's scheduled. It doesn't have to be like, all right, 7:27 Tuesday night, let's go.
Yeah,
like,
but some sort of like, we're going to connect tonight
Yes.
and whatever that looks like, or we have the mental capacity for
yes,
tonight.
and the embracing of the responsive desire for those of us that are responsive. Like, okay, you know what? I really don't want to, but when I get there, I'm going to be so glad I did. So Tuesday nights, I know at first I'm going to dread it, and then it's going to be incredible because I'm a responsive desire person.
Okay. So what about couples who have different, like some couples really like nighttime intimacy and some couples really like morning? Like, how do we balance that with like our scheduling, or do you see that often?
Yes, for
I
sure.
feel I see that a lot. Again, my population is primarily women. So a lot of women that I see prefer sex at night.
Yes.
And men are ready to go in the morning.
Yes.
And women are getting up, getting everybody ready, getting breakfast, getting everybody at school. And so there's like this disconnect of when they're ready to go.
Yes, and in heterosexual partners, it's so silly. Like hormones and biology, they're so silly.
Yeah.
So men's testosterone peaks first thing in the morning.
Yes.
Women's cortisol, our stress hormone, peaks first thing in the morning. Cool. That's a really good recipe for like connection and intimacy. So honoring like when that is happening for partners, you do sometimes have to just communicate. You have to say, hey, if we can carve out some time, because kids are waking up in 20 minutes and that does not feel sexy to me. Yeah. If this is your time, cool. I get an hour later because I will be ready to do this thing or whatever it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, well, because she likes evening or he likes morning, it's only done then. It is really reinventing. Like maybe he has some erectile difficulties in the evening because his testosterone is lower as the day goes on. So then sex looks different in the evenings and sex looks different in the mornings because she might not be into it and he is. It's really, really challenging all of those old stereotypes about what sex is to create a sex that works for you.
So again, I'm hearing like coming back to that communication, right?
100%.
And chatting through and I think if couples are in that dynamic, knowing if you're in a hetero dynamic that is one wants it at this time of the day and one wants it this, knowing that is very common and a lot of that has to do with biology.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So how would a couple know the difference between like being in a dry spell versus a deeper place of disconnection where they need maybe some additional support?
Yeah, for sure. So the most important question I always ask there is distress. So a dry spell for you might be distressing for me. Yeah. If I have a couple who says, hey, we have sex once a year and I'm so cool with that. I feel really good about that. I feel connected. I feel happy. Great. I have some couples that say we're not even having sex once a week and I'm so distressed by this. That's the first question I always ask is, are you distressed by your current sex life?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. Please reach out, please connect, please do some things. The other one is, have you ruled out any sort of sexual dysfunction?
Okay.
So women, are you having pain with intercourse? Are you having any of those things? Is there any sort of bleeding or discomfort or anything like that? Men, are you having blood flow issues? Because so many men will avoid sexual conversations because they're having blood flow issues thinking, oh, it's something about my penis. And it's actually, you have some heart stuff going on.
Wow.
The blood flow in your heart is not working effectively. So whenever I have couples, I always ask about distress. I always ask about, have you ruled out actual sexual medical dysfunctions? And those can be definitions of a dry spell versus, no, this is just how we feel connected with each other.
Yeah. Okay. Those are really good thinking points, I think, for couples for sure. So are there any rituals, daily habits, date night ideas, things that are doable for parents, right? And just to kind of keep intimacy on the radar.
For sure. So that was actually something, again, I just love her so much. Esther always talks about with her and her husband. It's like when we had children, we made a commitment to prioritize our relationship. We made a commitment to do that. Now these days, babysitters are really expensive.
So expensive.
Dinner out is so expensive.
Ubers are expensive.
So expensive. So it is really redefining and communicating what intimacy can be for us.
Okay.
And we're playing some of these games in the house, or we're doing something inexpensive. I know like a couple of my patients take advantage of these really cool like night out things at different play places here in town where it's like $30 for like the entire night. Like you can pick them up in the morning or whatever. And it's like, they have little high school kiddos who are like watching kids. And I mean, it is a splurge because it is financially, but just being able to prioritize that connection. And I say to my patients, sometimes I'm like, how many Starbucks have you got this week? How many? Because if the answer is more than one, you probably could cut that out in a month and go on a date night with your partner. Like there are some sacrifices that you could make, but also if financially it's not a place, can you be really creative in your house? Can you create those spaces where you can be intimate?
Yeah.
That is a little like, again, Esther's game or things like that you guys can have fun and play together.
I love the reminder about being intentional about connection in your relationship, because if you get married, you're like so, in love and everything's great. And then you're so excited once you get pregnant and everything is, so fast and so quick with not everyone gets pregnant fast. I didn't mean that, but
oh, no.
just the season of life where it's like, now we're in it. And if you weren't intentionally discussing at any point in that timeline of like, how do we stay connected? How do we focus on us? It is so easy to get lost in early parenthood because the demands and the needs are so high, and we have men and women so little to give. But if we can make that, I think for any young couple, right, whether you're like early on in your relationship or in your parenthood journey, making that commitment of like, we are going to agree to prioritize us, to prioritize our connection and time together each season of life.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's this different dynamic that wasn't even present in our parents' generation of parenting, of like the demand on parents and the expectations that you have to care and raise your children is enormous.
So high.
Where one mama is expected to do the work of a village now to raise a child, and then also be expected to then have this like super passionate, intimate relationship with their partner. It's like, no, there's nothing left in the tank. Yeah. So if you aren't personally very intentional about your partnership and saying like, we have to prioritize each other, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I joke with my husband sometimes of like, I literally from the second I wake up, I'm like, okay, what's in their lunch? What clothes are they in the right clothes?
Right.
Do they have the right shoes? Did they take the coat? Did they bring the put? And then I'm like, I don't even know if he had clothes on this morning. Like, how can I be in this space where I'm worrying about literally every detail, and then I don't notice the shirt that my husband has on. So it's really challenging.
Yeah.
Because kids are going to demand it. I have an incredible partner where he's not going to demand it. He knows how busy I am. My kids, they're not going to let me not pay attention to what they're wearing. So it's like, how can I also go, hey, did you look at what color shirt he had on and how cute he looks in that shirt today? Yeah. Because I wouldn't if I didn't tell my brain it needed to go over there.
Yeah, because it's so busy. And my husband and I, we constantly are like, oh yeah, we really need to go on more dates. And so then we'll go on a date, and then it'll be like the longest. And we both are like, oh yeah, we said we were going to go on more, and it's just hard. And I think, the logistics of babysitter, dinner out, all of the things, it adds up really fast. But yeah, it's super important just to prioritize that time. Date nights, even if they're at home or after the kids go to bed. We've had dates where we've just ordered takeout at home, and actually I prefer those some nights. Watch a show.
And also the acceptance of, can we remain connected and check in with each other if it's not a season of date nights? Yeah. So when our children were very young, my second was born in COVID. And so there were times we'd like walk past each other in the hall and like fist pound and be like, we're in this? Yep, still in it. Like, there wasn't an opportunity for date nights. It was just survival. Yeah. And so even connecting through those seasons that may not afford the opportunity for whatever extenuating circumstance to not have a date night out or in. Yeah. That's just like, am I able to check in with you and say, hey, same team, we got this. Yes. We know we're going to get through it. Yep. Great. Sometimes that's all you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so for a couple who might be ready to take a step into seeking out sex therapy, what can they expect? What does the process typically look like?
For sure. So really making sure that whomever they're sitting in front of is a good fit. When you have your intake, depending on the practice that the therapist chooses to use, they might do it together. They might individually see each of you. Depending, when I do my own, I will see the couple together, and then I will see each of them individually. Okay. Because even myself, there are things that when my husband is sitting next to me in a couples therapy session, I'm like, ugh, how do I word this the right way? I don't want to hurt his feelings. So getting an opportunity to sit alone with one of the partners to be able to say, hey, what do you really want out of this? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? So that's how I do it. Some therapists will just do the couple together. Okay. Usually there's a series of questions about concerns or distress, like I said, obviously ruling out any medical, finding out history, if there's any sexual trauma, which is a whole other episode in and of itself. Yeah. If there's any infertility, again, whole other episode. So there's all of those kind of background questions in the initial session or two, and then kind of going into different strategies and things. A lot of mine, I'm a very practical therapist, so I will say, okay, guys, go home and try this homework.
Yeah, I think
and
couples
come
want
back
that.
and let me know. And sometimes they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, we didn't do it. Life got too busy or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, that it does. And also that's why you're sitting here because you wanted this challenge. You wanted to do that. So then we discuss what barriers are to trying the experiment or whatever that is. So that's kind of how the first 5 or 6 sessions will go, just kind of assessing how experiments went and how things went like that. So,
Okay. And I kind of got this vibe from you earlier, but I just think it's important for folks to hear that there isn't anything that is like too weird or too uncommon.
Nothing
for sex therapy.
Absolutely nothing. I promise you, whenever I have somebody, they'll say like, oh, TMI. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like there is no, there is nothing. And the normalization of your desires, whatever they may be, are almost always completely normal.
Yeah.
Like it is the societal shame, or it is the upbringing, or it is whatever stories were created in you that has created that you're not normal or not okay. And none of that is true. So that's something that's a huge focus of sex therapy, is to go like, you were given those stories. They don't have to be true about you if you don't want them to be.
Yeah, I feel like that is so much work in it of itself to do for individuals.
For sure.
Well, Juline, thank you so much for joining us today. I've really enjoyed connecting with you, and I know that so many people are going to enjoy this conversation and all of your honesty and wisdom. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
If folks want to find you or work with you, what is the best way for them to connect?
Yes, you can find me at omahawellnesscollective.com, and then the Sexual Health Hub. Also on social. I'm not very good at it. I'm working on it, but the Docs of Shh. So SHH, Sexual Health Hub.
Okay.
So the Docs of Shh is the Sexual Health Hub website and social.
Perfect.
So you can find us there, and yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
You so much.
Yeah. So if this episode hit home for you, or if you're leaving with a few new ideas to try, I'd love it if you shared this episode with a friend, or if you would leave a quick review. It helps other people find us. And as always, thanks for being here. We are figuring out this motherhood journey together, and I'll see you next time on Omaha Mom Talks. Thanks, guys. Omaha Mom Talks. Real moms, authentic conversations, no filter needed.